Hi everyone, it's Rachel from Sweet and Simple Home, and today I have my hubby, Nathan, with me today. So YouTube, meet Nathan. Nathan, meet YouTube.
Hi.
I am going to do the happily married tag today, started by Gillianathome. She tagged me to do this tag, and I really wanted to do it and take the opportunity to introduce you guys to my hubby because I've been around since July and you guys haven't met him yet. So thought this was a perfect opportunity. So we're actually going to do this tag a little bit differently. He's going to answer some of them with me, but we're also going to start with the last question first because we've kind of feel like the last question is definitely going to play a role in every single answer we have for this. So the last question is, if you're religious, how has your faith influenced your marriage? And we kind of feel like 100% all of the way it's influenced everything. So in a lot of our answers you'll hear that. We certainly don't want you to feel like we're like shoving our faith down in your throat or whatever, but it's just a lot. It means a lot to us. It is everything to us. So it's going to be, all of our answers are going to be seasoned with that. So be ready for that, and hopefully you'll like to hear what we have to say. So the first questions are all pre-hubby. And we've been married for about 9 years, a little over 9 years now. So just to give you an idea of when pre-hubby was. Did you date much before you met your husband? I had a couple boyfriends in high school, but I didn't date anybody in college until I met him. And I was his first girlfriend. Oh. Okay, so did online dating exist when you were dating? Would I have used it if it was? It did exist, but I didn't really have a need for it, though I don't think I would have totally discounted it if I needed it. Where do you think are the best places to meet a great guy? I'll talk about where I met Nathan later because there's a question about it, but I kind of feel like that depends on what you're passionate about. For me, I was passionate about my faith and my relationship with Christ, so I met a lot of people, not necessarily guys, but a lot of like friends and guys and girls alike, doing things that I was passionate about. So I would say go to where you're passionate, whether that's your faith or your hobbies or whatever, and find people that are like-minded in that way, because the things that are number one to you will also be number one to them. Do you have anything to add to that?
That's good.
Okay. All right. What qualities would you tell a single woman to look for in a man? Because I am a Christian, I feel like the number one quality to look for is to share the same faith, and not just nominally, but like actually living it. I feel like that's really important. I also feel like honesty is a really big one, and for me, because of a past experience I had with an idiot boy, I think marrying somebody who's intelligent is definitely a plus. And for me, a big one was like being able to respect my parents and desire to have a family, sense of humor, all those like classic cliche ones would be on my list. What do you think?
I mean, I guess I would go along with that. I think that you have to probably share a common worldview, share a common interest, share, you have to be, I mean, again, this is going to be filtered, but the Bible says don't be unequally yoked, and I think that works in all kinds of situations with people. If you have somebody who's maybe completely and utterly different than you, it's probably going to be hard for you to build a relationship. So
true. He speaks truth. Okay, what dating advice will you give your daughter?
Well, the obvious one is, again, I mean, he's got to be a guy who loves Jesus, and I think that has to be the number one factor above all things, is that Jesus has to be the most important thing. And I think maybe number two, a guy who's humble is probably the second thing that I would say to her, is a guy who knows how to say I'm sorry, a guy who knows how to seek forgiveness and to give forgiveness. And I think with those two things,
I would add to that a guy who's crazy about her, because that was one thing my mom always told me, like, you only date boys who are crazy about you. There are men in this world, and I'm sure we've all met them, that think they're all that in a bag of chips. and they're not worth your time because they're more crazy about themselves than they are about you. So we definitely want to give her that advice. And I also think this might be like pushing the envelope a little bit, but I feel like we'll definitely help her through just navigating physical boundaries within a relationship. We kind of talked about before, like how the world is kind of like this minefield, and there's like mines buried all throughout. And instead of just kind of shoving our kids out there and going, hey, figure it out, we want to walk through that minefield with them and say, look, there's a bomb here. Don't go. Don't touch that. You know, like this bomb will go off, and kind of like encourage our kids through that time. And so that's definitely something that we will, you know, walk through with her when she gets to that point. Okay, so the next questions are early day questions. The first question of that is, how did you meet your hubby and how old were you? We met our freshman year in college. We were neighbors in the dorms. So I remember meeting him like the second or third day that we were in the dorms. He doesn't really remember that, but he remembers meeting me at like the Greek life orientation during freshman orientation. I was standing next to him. I thought he knew who I was. He didn't know who I was and thought I was just this crazy girl talking to him about like getting involved, and they're talking about like helping the hospitals and stuff, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to do that kind of stuff. I'm so excited about being at college. And I was just like overly friendly. That's just kind of how I dealt with.
I was like, why are you talking to me? Like, I don't even know who you are. And then I was at that point in my life very proud and arrogant, so I was like at this Greek life thing going, this is really dumb. And then this girl is telling me how she's like totally excited to get involved, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. So that was, I'm a keeper, I'm a catch. So
anyway, it's funny. We always laugh about that. He thought it was weird. All right, did you play hard to get? And I kind of wanted him to answer this question because I want to hear, did I play hard to get?
I think it has to be probably in the right way. I think that, again, I mean, my college career, especially my freshman and sophomore year, I had a lot of stuff that was going on in my life. I had a lot of stuff that was going on with my family. My head was all over the place. I didn't really have an example of a healthy relationship throughout my life. And so I think the way in which she played hard to get was, I think really, if you summed it up, is you better love Jesus, because I'm not going to do this if you don't. So through several situations, a couple of them our relationship depended upon those situations. She basically just said, hey,
ultimatum.
Yeah, Jesus is really important, and that's cool if he's not important to you, but if you want to be in a relationship with me, you're going to have to get that figured out. I'm thankful for that, because I needed to get that figured out. So.
Yep. Okay. So, did you know he was the one right away? And then I'll let you answer that. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story here. He had a roommate. I don't know if he watches my videos, but if he does, I wonder if he'll remember this. But he came up to me like 2 to 3 weeks into the school year and told me that I was going to marry him. Like, it was kind of odd. Like, he gave me all these Bible verses about being a good wife and stuff. We didn't go to a Christian school. We went to a state school. And it was just like, you know, kind of interesting that happened. And then around that same time, we ended up staying up really late talking. Like, there's a bunch of us hanging out, and then like people went back to their rooms until it was just us, and we stayed up till like 3 or 4 in the morning. We were just talking. He was sharing with me about his life, and he had shared that he had never had a girlfriend before, and he was intentional about that because he didn't want to date until he met the person he was going to marry. He grew up in a broken household, and so he wanted to live differently. And I remember thinking in my head, like, it wasn't like I purposefully thought it, like it wasn't an intentional thought. It just like popped into my head, this like, almost like a voice in my head was like, it's gonna be me. And I was like, weird. So, and I didn't really like dwell on that or think about those things. I kind of pushed them aside until we'd been dating a while. I think we'd been dating about 4 or 5 months, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna marry that guy. So I don't know. When did you know I was the one?
I think maybe the end of our freshman year. I think that we weren't dating yet. Our RA or CA, whatever, the student who's in in charge of our dorm room area, she put up a thing that was like, what are you going to do this summer? And everybody could kind of go and fill in what you're going to do. And, I forgot what she had put up there, I'm going to get a man. Definitely joking. Of course, I think she was being silly. But as I walked by that, I looked at that and I go, oh, that's going to be me. And so.
We're so cocky.
I know we are. Really, really proud people.
Anyway, okay. That's cute. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay, what qualities did your husband love about you when you were first dating? I'm going to let him answer that one.
I think, as I've already said, that I think her commitment and relationship with Jesus was huge for me. And I think this may come even as a shock. I think that the most important part of that quality came out when we weren't dating. It was before that. It was that period. It was like our last quarter at Eastern, our freshman year. We had kind of like flirted a little bit, and we had spent like with those conversations and stuff. But there came a point where she was like, I'm not doing that anymore with you, and I'm going to really invest in Jesus. And it was actually at that point in time that she became the most attractive to me, is when she ditched me for Jesus. So I think that kind of carried through all the way, even through our marriage. How many times that she's prayed for me as I've gone through different stages and walks and points in my relationship with God has been by far probably more grace has been showered on me because of what she's prayed for me throughout my life than I deserve. So that's probably it.
You're nice. Did you have a timeline for marriage? I think we both had. I was just like, I just want to marry you. I don't care when. I don't care how. And he wanted to finish school first. That's kind of how he'd been raised.
Get 2 cars, work for 10 years.
He had this like formula, A plus B plus C, kind of a thing. And so I kind of feel like the next question will answer more of that. Did you have to nudge your husband towards marriage? I never said, propose to me, we gotta get married. I didn't even buy like a bride's book or a bride's magazine. Like I didn't even go there. I was really, really careful about guarding my heart, because if he didn't end up being the one, I didn't want to walk away with like all these plans and ideas about stuff. It was hard not to go there. It was really hard. But he knew that my heart was there, because he knew me, like he knew my heart and who I was and my desire for a family. And but the next question will even answer that further. How did your parents influence the kind of marriage you wanted? Now, in October of our junior year in college, we'd been dating for a little over a year. We met with my parents. We went on like this double date to talk to him about how our relationship was going. And my dad was like, how come you're not married yet? Like pretty much that's what he said.
And I was like, what?
Because we thought maybe they were going to tell us to break up. And they were like, we think you need to get married. And Nathan was really shocked. And that same weekend, we went to a wedding for a friend they're still our friends. We love them. And Nathan was really moved by that, because that was like the first like grown-up wedding he'd been to since he was like a kid, like actual friends getting married. And he was just really moved by the whole experience. So that's definitely, my parents influenced us a lot. Like, even today, my dad and Nathan have a really great relationship, and my parents have been married 34 years. They have an awesome story. They were high school sweethearts. They love Jesus, and obviously Nathan has learned a lot from the other end, coming from a broken family, a broken home, and so the two combined have just like really helped us to know what kind of marriage and what kind of life we want to have. All right, the next section is on weddings and marriage, and I'll just be honest from the start here. I'm not super sentimental about my wedding. We were on a super tight budget, and we were the first on both our sides of families to get married, so we had no idea what we were doing. And there's just a lot of stuff that didn't go super well with our wedding, and even like the day of, I just kind of was like, whatever. I was sad. Actually, like, I got over it, but I'm not super sentimental about it because of all that I went through with that. So I'm going to say the first question is, what did you love most about your wedding? Obviously that we got married. That would be the first thing I love the most. The second would be that he cried when he saw me walking down the aisle. That was really special. And the third would be that our pastor, who is still our pastor, married us. Like, I'm really glad that we got to do that. And the last would be my dad read a scripture over the marriage, and he cried through the whole thing. It was really sweet. That was at my wedding, right? It wasn't my sister? Or did he do it at my sister's too?
He did it at your sister's too.
See?
It's a tradition.
So messed up. So what elements of your wedding didn't matter as much as you thought they would? Everything. There you go.
If somebody's offering you like $5,000 to do the wedding, keep it and go on a honeymoon.
It's just so low.
just do it at the cheap but nice wedding and keep it.
Yeah, for reals. Okay, is the first year really the hardest?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for us, it actually kind of was more our second year, because our first year we were living in the dorms, and not the dorms, the married student housing, and we had a lot of friends around us, and we had a lot of fellowship, and it was really fun. And then when we graduated and moved into a new city and had to like really figure out who we were as a married couple, it was a little rough then. So I would say you have a lot to figure out, so definitely.
I think too, like on the communication level, when you're first married, your communication's pretty bad. I think you're still trying to figure out the other person. You're still trying to figure out, just how to communicate and how to talk about things. And, I felt like the longer that we've been married, everything about our marriage has gotten better. So that's like, we even look at each other, we'll just say like, I don't even want to go back like 2 years ago, like the progress we've made. So.
All right, so what advice do you give newlywed couples? We've actually gotten to meet with couples a lot because we're in ministry, and one of the things that we shared recently was just like, obviously be on the same page when it comes to your faith and your family, but then the next thing after that needs to be finances. Finances are a big stumbling block for many, many couples, and has been a big hurdle for even us, because it's probably the area that we have struggled with the most as far as like communicating well and being on the same page and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's hard, and especially because most of the time in a marriage you have a saver and a spender, and that's just something that we always really strongly advise people. And just to give yourself lots of grace, to give your spouse lots of grace, and possibly buy earplugs. Okay. Oh. Just saying. I know some couples who that's helped, like the adjustment to sleeping with a big old man every night. Okay, so the last question is the one we answered first. If you're religious, how has your faith influenced your marriage? And obviously, we've been pretty honest with you guys. It's almost everything in our marriage, so there's that. So I hope you guys enjoyed meeting my hubby. He's so awesome, isn't he? Let me know if you have any questions for us. Thanks again to Jillian for starting this tag. I think this is an awesome idea, and feel really blessed that you tagged me for this. And I will have more for you guys later in the week, and take care. Bye. Say bye.
Bye.